name is Paige, and welcome back to Scared of Beautiful. Thank you for joining me and supporting me on my channel. If you're new here, please subscribe and don't forget to like the video, comment, and share with any of your friends or your circle who likes good reality TV the way I do. Some of you have followed me here from my commentary on All About the Tea. And on All About the Tea, I talked about my love for Married at First Sight. I love this show. I am a single woman myself, so any show about love and romance, I really like to see people trying to find their forever love. So I decided to review Married at First Sight here on my channel. That's what this video will be about, and I hope you stick around to hear my thoughts. So this episode was episode 6 from season 12. It is titled Defending Your Wife. And if you all saw the episode, that's pretty much the theme of this episode. I got some notes here. As you all know, I am a lawyer, honey, so don't laugh at my notes. I take some detailed notes, but this is a 2-hour show, so it's a lot going on, and I gotta keep the stories straight, honey. So hope you're here, and we're going to get into it. Let's go. The episode opens up with kind of a montage of everything that happened last episode, which was a complete crap show in my opinion. But anyway, we go into Clara and Ryan sitting in their hotel room, getting to know each other. You know, what I really do like about Clara and Ryan is that they seem to be trying to do the work in their relationship. They don't know a lot about each other and their backgrounds, so they're asking the hard questions. A few episodes ago, they got into the religion thing and the debate on, you know, how they view religion and Christianity or spirituality, whether you should go to church regularly or not. That was very interesting, I must say. And so this time they're asking each other about their background in high school life. It seems like Clara's dating history and background was a little bit much for Ryan. Ryan then says that he has never been in love. He's never said I love you to any of his previous romantic partners. And it's not that he hasn't been in relationships before, long-term relationships at that. He's just never felt that he loved someone. I'm not gonna lie, y'all. From the first 6 episodes, I'm kind of thinking that this is a mismatch. People like to say that opposites attract, right? And that's true for an initial kind of combustion, right? But to sustain a long-term relationship, you need to have some key similarities. And so with Clara's background, with her career as a flight attendant, with her just being so spontaneous, and her aversion, at least right now, to consistent religion and going to church consistently, I just think this might be too much for them to overcome as a couple. I think their differences might be a little bit too much, but we'll get into more of that later. Next, we go to the guys and girls have their own hangout scenes. The guys are all together as a group. The girls are all together as a group. And I love how Clara speaks up for Paige. You know, she's really checking in with her friend. She wants to make sure that Paige is emotionally okay because of everything that's going on. So I love how she does that directly with Paige. You'll understand why I'm saying that more later. Brianna is very authoritative in nature, and I think that's going to be a lot for Vincent. And we'll see that play out a little later on in the episode as well. Now we go over to the guys scene, And Eric is very unbuttoned down, which is good because Eric can be a little bit too buttoned up. But he is either super drunk or he has been mixing those drinks with a little bit of them Las Vegas weed gummies, child. It is a lot. I can't tell what exactly he's on, but he is slurring, he's incoherent, and it's the middle of the day. I know it's your honeymoon, but I was just kind of shocked to see him in that light because he's Mr. Military man, always on point, ready for the salute. So it was a little off-putting to see him so inebriated. I mean, turn up, but you know, don't turn up too much, sir. You still got to go back to your regular life, as you keep telling us. The one thing that I saw that was really interesting between the two scenes with the guys and the girls was how different the perspectives are. If you all have never read the old school book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, you really should read it. It gives a lot of insight into how the sexes are just fundamentally different. And so it was really interesting to me to see how all of the men were kind of like, oh, our marriages are going great. And then when they flashed over to the women, Brianna and one of the other ladies were like, oh, we're having a couple of issues, things that we need to work out. Whereas the men didn't see that as a problem at all. Very interesting. The next thing that we learn is that most of the couples have been intimate. Of course, it was good old Chris who started off that conversation. I don't know if he's volunteering to be this stereotypical, or I mean, I'm guessing it's just him because this is how he consistently shows up, but it's high-key disappointing. So of course he's the one who brings up the topic of intimacy and attraction with the men, but I really liked how Jacob, and then when the same question is asked to the ladies, Clara, both honored their partners. Clara said that Ryan did not want to talk about their sex life publicly, and I understand that. I'm glad that they learned from previous seasons and have set that boundary and are honoring it as a couple. And I think Jacob was just being a consummate gentleman. He didn't want to tell all of Haley's business, although Haley, shared it with the camera herself. So we move on, and we get to Eric talking to Chris about this big bombshell of his ex-fiance being pregnant. Now, I will say, again, one-on-one, I like how Eric confronted Chris man to man, right? To me, that's the way it should be handled. It was refreshing to see another man check in with another man like, hey, dog, what are you doing? This isn't cool. I only wish Eric was a little more sober when he chooses to have these conversations. Nonetheless, I like the way it was going. Next, we get to Jacob and Haley's scene. Again, y'all, I will get into like a little Wendy Ostefo type brag right now. Not even a brag, but like I told you, I'm a lawyer, but I also have a bachelor's degree in psychology and a degree in social work. I don't practice those things, but you don't even need degrees, y'all. Anybody with eyes can see that some of these couples should not have been matched. Some of them as individuals just were not ready for marriage. And even if they were ready for marriage, the people who they paired them with, to me, were just so off. One of those being Haley and Jacob. Every time they've come on screen since we've gotten past the weddings, y'all, has been super cringe for me. Like, I just don't see it. I don't see any innate attraction. I'm hoping that they're gonna build something like Jamie and her husband did from the first few seasons, but it's still early. So we're gonna hold on hope. But right now, y'all, it is just super cringeworthy. Haley is clearly not attracted to him. And it just makes me kind of sad for both of them. Next we go into another Paige and Christine, where they're laying in bed and Chris commends her for her grace. You know, Chris is such a game player, a manipulator. He knows how to use certain words and play upon certain things. So he knows that Paige wants to be this perfect stepford wife. She values religion, and so he uses words like that, like, "Oh, you're so graceful." And I must say, Paige has been more graceful than most women I know in her situation. I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing for her, but it's always good to try to stick it out, at least initially, and give somebody the benefit of the doubt. She's been very gracious, to her credit. But then Chris just goes on to show how much of a douchebag he really is. They start talking about Paige's dog and what's that going to be like when they live together. And Paige is asking him, is he going to help with certain duties, taking the dog out, feeding the dog? And he's like, "Oh no, you can take care of it. I'll play with it." The fact that he's even calling her dog an it is a problem. But also the fact that he doesn't want to take on any responsibility when this man has a whole baby on the way. A whole baby, sir. Imagine if she said, "Oh no, I'll play with it. You can take care of it." You know, I know we can't compare dogs to humans, but that, for all intents and purposes, is her baby for right now. She wasn't anticipating marrying a man who had another woman pregnant. So she has to wrap her brain around that whole concept, and you can't even manage to say you're okay with taking her dog out. Then you show how further shallow you are. I always, when I think you can't get any lower, you just get further into the kiddie pool, sir. You talk about doing something to the dog, throwing the dog out if the dog gets to your beloved shoes. He is high-key trash, y'all. I don't know how these experts were. I didn't think we could get any worse than Michael and Mika or Brandon and Taylor. And here we are. Like, I want to sue Paige I want to sue Married at First Sight for Paige at this point, because this is all types of mental abuse and emotional. Like, I don't know why they would do this to her. The fact that this man had a prior engagement within the same year of them filming should have been enough to disqualify him. Why would you even choose somebody like that? Whether the girl was pregnant or not, he was not ready to be anybody's husband. Anyway, he goes further to show that although he talks about being a traditional man and having a traditional marriage, he doesn't want to commingle finances. He doesn't believe in joint bank accounts. He lets her know that she only makes a quarter of what he makes. But he doesn't want them to have a joint bank account. Paige and anybody else that's out there listening, he doesn't want her to know, because he doesn't want her to see what he's spending his money on. That likely means other women, or how much he's spending. So ladies, let that be a red flag. Y'all watch these shows and get some tips now. Don't just watch them to watch them. We got to learn while we watch. Next we go, it's day 5 of the honeymoon, and we go to Virginia and Eric. Again, I have a little bit more hope for Virginia and Eric, but I don't think Virginia was ready to be married or ready to be matched to anyone. Eric is very buttoned up, and Virginia explains that she goes out every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday with her girls. You can tell that Eric is tired and worn out. He hasn't he hasn't been drinking and partying like this since he was a young man in college. Now he's 34. He's done the military thing. He's a pilot. He's in and out so much, he can't afford to have hangovers every other day. It's not going to work. And he lets her know that up front. But Virginia is clearly very sad because she wanted a party animal. She wanted a party buddy who would go and hang out with her. And I'm like, girl, every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday? And then to basically say that she's not going to give up her lifestyle, yeah, she wasn't ready. Experts, y'all got this one wrong again. Like, why are y'all playing with people's lives like this? Next we go to Brianna and Vincent, right? I will say that of all of the couples, I think they're the best matched. I have the highest hopes for them. I think they are a beautiful couple together. But another big personality difference. And I do believe, as kind of a free-spirited type person, you kind of need somebody who can come in and bring structure, right? And help you with discipline. But it's all about how the person approaches it. And Brianna is very type A. Her family and everybody else tried to warn Vincent at that wedding. They called her bossy 50-11 million times. There wasn't any other way to say it. She's bossy, she's bossy, she's bossy. Everybody said it. And I think Vincent heard it, but it's different when you hear something and when you're actually experiencing it. I tend to be type A as well. However, Brianna is a bit to the extreme of it. She's a bit too micromanaging, even for me. And type A people are characterized by being competitive, right? Ambitious. They're very aware of time management, which is why she was mad that he was taking forever to get ready or not getting ready while she was, and instead he was playing on his phone. They're highly organized. And they are impatient. And that is where Brianna is going to have to do some bending at. She's too impatient for Vincent. He doesn't like to be rushed, and he explains so much. However, him saying, this is just who I am and I'm not changing, that's problematic. Anytime anybody has that type of response in a relationship, and definitely a marriage, it's problematic. Because marriage is all give and take, compromise. Gotta work on it, dude. However, when they talked about him being frustrated and why he was being frustrated, Brianna just kind of did a childish tit for tat, well, you annoyed me too type thing. That wasn't cool, sis. Like, you were just trying to take a cheap shot at him, and it's not good. It's not going to be good down the long run. And I see now that she gets kind of sensitive when she's told, even though she asked him the question, it's almost like she didn't want the man to be honest with her. And then when he was honest, she kind of weaponized it against him. So we got to do a little better on that, Brianna. Next, we show Brianna and Vincent on their date. And it goes into just what we were talking about. She's super analytical. And I get it because I am an analytical person as well. However, when we're going into relationships, we kind of have to be able to step back outside of ourselves and consider the other person. So she was just overthinking way too much, and it's going to get her in trouble with them. Her being kind of sad or hurt about him saying she's bossy, you got to own it, sis. Everybody in your family says the same things, and everybody can't be wrong. So we have to get to a place where we can say, you know what? If everybody's saying this, I need to check myself. I might be a little bossy. So I have hopes that they're going to push through that and she can get there. But this is why I also am an advocate for therapy and counseling, individually and couples, so that you'll have that third party there to kind of help you say, look, see it from the other person's perspective and kind of take some of the defensiveness away from it. So I hope that they get there. Next, oh Lord, we get to Eric and Virginia, Clara and Paige, Clara and Ryan, and Chris and Paige going on this big group date on ATVs. This was a whole crap show. Horrible. I don't know why the other couples didn't do the group date. I don't know why they picked this particular mix of couples. I think it was the wicked brainchild of the production team, and it worked. They got a spontaneous combustion because the two nosiest women in the group, Clara and Virginia, decided to address Chris, saying that they were worried about Paige and how she's been acting on the trip. She's not her normal self. And I think that's a great thing, but they addressed the wrong person. If they only care about Paige, which is what they said, they were mainly concerned about Paige, they should have addressed Paige. Chris is right or wrong. He's very defensive. He doesn't like other people in his business, even though they shared it with everybody. He did assert a boundary of, hey, we shared it with y'all, let us handle this on our own. So for them to go prying and then basically tell him, we don't care about you, dude, we're worried about Paige, it wasn't going to end well. And I hate that. I wish Chris had been more aware and upfront with his boundaries. And as soon as they started the conversation, said, you know what, ladies? I asked you all to let us deal with this in-house. I really don't want to discuss this with y'all. And walked off. It could have avoided so much of what ends up going down. But he didn't. And it just kind of turned into a really bad look. And unfortunately, the way optics look, it's kind of always gonna go against him. I will say though that Chris took it too far in the van. Once you said your piece, once you put the other people in their place, it doesn't make sense to keep the argument going. And as he said in his confessional, basically he meant to cause more trouble. He wasn't going to let them have a nice ride home, and that just wasn't cool. He unfortunately, in his frustration, just kind of fed into a lot of stereotypes of black men, particularly when you are arguing with other races of women, in a woman, period. Anytime men and women are arguing to that level, it comes off as aggressive, right? And so I'm not saying he didn't have a reason to be upset. He absolutely did. But once he said his piece, should have just moved on. Next, we get to the group dinner scene. And everybody is talking about, you know, they're walking on eggshells because of everything that has happened. And finally, Paige addresses the elephant in the room. Again, the epitome of grace. I kind of hate that so much is happening. Not kind of. I do hate everything that's happening to her so far in this experience. But she's showing up as a good woman and as a good wife. I just hate that she feels like she has to keep apologizing for Chris and his actions. Chris goes into this thing of, I needed my privacy, right? And I don't really understand the mindset of people who sign up for this show sometimes. I'm like, did y'all not watch prior seasons? Because You get married and they document it for the next 3 months. Like, this is legit what you're signing up for. You don't get privacy unless you're asleep or going to the bathroom. So it's just so interesting to me. He gives off so many feelings and reminders of Brandon from season 10, Matt from season 9, Jesus Lord, Matt, and Michael from season 10. We got away from it a little in season 11. Like, season 11 was a good season for the couples overall, but this season, y'all, it is just giving me horrible nightmares reminiscent of season 10. But I will commend him when he does something right. His public apology to Paige was very appropriate, very necessary. In the moment, it felt sincere, but again, because of his personality, I think he's just good with words. But we'll take it at face value for right now, see how it plays out. He then continues and apologizes to Clara for the way he spoke with her earlier. He apologizes to Ryan for speaking to his wife in that manner. And then before we can even, let that go, here comes Virginia and Eric late to the scene once again. And Eric comes in trying to lay down the law, honey. He is going to defend his wife and let Chris know, brother, you passed a boundary. You cannot speak to my wife in that manner. And that immediately puts Chris on the defense. I don't know if it's editing or what, but it seems like Eric just came in hot. You're late, loud, and aggressive. He may not have been aggressive in action, but he was definitely aggressive in his tone. And Chris's ego was hurt. That's really what it boils down to. He was threatened, and it seems like whenever he is challenged and threatened, particularly from another man, it kind of automatically devolves into a shouting match or trying to say, let's fight. Again, I hated to see it, but Eric and Virginia are habitual line steppers. More so Virginia than Eric. And as much as I applaud Eric for defending his wife, I wonder if he actually saw the initial interaction, how it began, and if so, he needed to have a conversation with Virginia and say, hey, they've asked us to stay out of it. Don't ask him any more questions. If you want to talk to Paige as her friend, talk to her. But please don't engage Chris anymore. The conversation was appropriate on both sides. And I think if they had cooled down a little, Chris was going to apologize to Eric and Virginia as well. But we didn't get to see it happening. And on that end, Chris was correct on the boundary issue. When someone tells you they don't want to talk about something, please believe them and move on. Next we go to Clara and Ryan. We just see another piece of conflict between her free spirit and his more reserved personality. Again, especially with his parents being pastors, I honestly don't see them being able to get past this religion issue, but we'll see. Next, we have another scene with Jacob and Haley, where they're, getting ready for the night, packing, getting ready for bed. And so he is talking to her about how he doesn't feel like she likes him or is embracing him. She's asked him for some space and some time, and he's like, well, 2 days later, I gave you some time. And think he's not being realistic. They're only 5 or 6 days into their marriage. Um, I think he's a bit insecure, which is why he's been single for so long. He's also probably now insecure about their age difference. And honestly, I think the sex may not have been the best. I think Haley may have been operating from a place like Chris was with Paige, where she wasn't necessarily physically attracted to him, but because he was nice and was catering to her and they're married, she wanted to go on and consummate the marriage, thinking that might help. And because Jacob is saying that Haley changed 2 days or after they had sex, the atmosphere had kind of changed. That kind of leads me to believe that the sex wasn't all that, because I don't care how quiet you are, how reserved you are. If you are with a man and you like what he's putting down, you will warm up. So, I just hope she gives it enough time and allows him to show her a different side of him, or to show her his full self. I hope she does let down her guard to allow that. Look, if you're gonna do an experiment like this, do it. But Jacob also needs to back off a little and be patient, bruh. 2 days is not giving somebody time or space. You have to still do things. Be funny. Be nice. Show more of your personality, things that endear someone to you. You can't force it. And I think that's what Jacob is trying to do. It's just cringy all over, y'all. Then we get Virginia and Eric. Y'all, it was just a lot of tears and non-sympathy from me. Like, y'all have to acknowledge the role that you all played in this whole situation with Chris and Paige as well. At this point, I think Eric is right. I'm here for our marriage. I don't care what's going on in the other people's marriages. Let's leave it at that. And if Virginia still wants to check in with Paige, she should do that. But check in with Paige only and leave it at that. And Paige, if she doesn't want them nosing around in the marriage, needs to tell them that as well. Thank you for your concern, but we're not going to talk about this. We have to handle this, me and my husband, inside of our marriage. And that's it. Lastly, we see Jacob and Haley packing for the last scene with Jacob and Haley. And we find out that Haley went downstairs, kind of gave Jacob an off reason why she was going. And he goes downstairs and sees her eating breakfast with the rest of the couples. And then she kind of takes off. Haley, like, sis, that was cold-blooded. Like, again, you have to give him time. If you need space, cool, but you're still on the honeymoon. Involve the man in the couple's events. That was kind of bad, sis. I also wonder, like, what did she tell the other couples? I'm sure somebody asked, hey, where's your Jacob? Like, what did you tell these people, girl, that he was upstairs asleep? Like, that is just, I feel so bad for him. Lastly, we get to Paige and Chris packing. And every time when I think, like I said, Chris can't get any lower, he scrapes the bottom of the barrel. So he proceeds to tell Paige that he's been talking to the ex-fiance about her being pregnant and what that will look like moving forward. And he admits that they have had talks about potentially getting back together and raising their child. He admits that he still loves her and that he doesn't want another man raising his child. I, I don't know what you say after that. If I were Paige, I would have packed my bags, and when I got back in Atlanta, went straight to an attorney's office for a divorce. We don't need to wait for decision day, sir. We stop this right now. Did it. Did it. I was waiting on you at the door. That's how I would be at the attorney's office. Like, how soon can we get this done? Like yesterday. Um, she leaves. She needs some air. She needs some space. Then when she comes back, she says, why haven't we had these conversations? Like, you've had these conversations with her. Why haven't you had these conversations with me? And Chris proceeds to gaslight her and manipulate her like only Chris can by putting it back on her, saying that it's her fault because she's never asked any of these hard questions. He just had the conversation a few days ago, and so now he's having the conversation with her, and then he defaults to his games and manipulation regarding religion and his vows and how serious these vows are to him. Yeah, I'm not buying it, Chris. I don't think these vows were that serious to you. I think you're trying to save face for television, so you don't make your pastor look like a complete butthole. But I don't think you take these vows seriously, sir. Tell it to somebody else. But he uses that just to, ease her temper, soothe her, get her back in his good graces, and it works. Miraculously, it works. She falls for it, and in her talking confessional head says that she still believes that Chris is her person. God is telling her that. I never question anybody's relationship with God and what God has said to them. But sis, I just think this might be more of religion and dogma than actual God. I actually think God is sending you lots of messages, lots of red flags, lots of warnings early on, like in the first week, that this man is not the man for you. You are 26 years old, baby. If you watch this, if you ever come across this some kind of way, and I know some of y'all will say, well, players, they get a divorce. Let me say that I review these shows as they go. I watch as they go. I like to be that type of fan. I don't read the blogs and the spoiler alerts. I don't want to know before decision day who stays in, who stays out. So all of my opinions that you just heard were based on episode 6 and what we've seen up into episode 6. So that was the end of the show. The preview for next week looks great. I will say, Married at First Sight always has great production. I just honestly don't want them to play around with these matches in people's lives because this stuff can leave lasting damage. So as much as I love reality TV, I don't want anybody to be permanently damaged emotionally or mentally or hurt from this stuff. I love y'all. I hope you enjoyed the review. I plan on doing it more. I had a coworker. We would talk about this stuff after every episode. And since COVID hit, outside hasn't been open. I haven't been going into the office, so we can't have these discussions. So I'm happy that I have my YouTube family to have these talks with. Y'all like, comment, subscribe, share. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let me know. Is it just me? Is Chris crazy? Is Paige crazy? Are Jacob and Haley cringy to you? Is Virginia too much of an alcoholic? Is she too young acting? Is Eric too uptight? You know? Do you think Clara and Ryan can get over the religion hurdle? Let me know, y'all.